far as engagements are concerned, but particularly with issues relating to these pensioners. I think that it's only logical that if government agreed to exclude the pension funds of the working class currently, that's the labor unions, it is only logical that government will work to exclude individual pensioners who have government bonds. So I think this is very simple and straightforward. Organized labor came out to say that we cannot put our pensions in this debt exchange program. Yeah. And government has agreed and since exempted them. Now, these are people who are not even gone on pension yet, who had salaries to depend on, and government agreed. Now, you have people who are on pension, and for most of them, most likely their only source of income will be their pension funds, for which they've used to secure government bonds, at least to get some interest, so that they may not have to go back and work vigorously to be able to, yes, to keep body and shape in form. So I think that it is only logical. But as I indicated yesterday, for me, I'm more interested in the ultimate point that it looks as though this debt exchange and the debt restructuring is one that, regardless of the concerns that we have, we cannot do without. So we need to look at how to make it.
Looks like it's a necessary devil.
Yes, it looks so. And so we may now have to look at how to get the buy-in of certain people. For me, I think the pensioners, at least, they should be exempted. But as it is noted, politics is not always about logic. There's perception in politics, and sometimes perception even rules ahead of facts and everything. And so I think that if government sits down to analyze the issues and note that we have explained to Ghanaians that we are at a point when we need this. You've explained to labor union, you've explained to everybody, you've explained to them, you've told them why you need this, but they are not listening to you. You should relax and go back to the drawing table and find out what you are missing. Government may be missing a lot of things, but in my view, I think one thing that government is missing is that a number of people think that the government is not bearing the cost as much as the ordinary Ghanaian is bearing the cost. And these people also think that government should be blamed entirely. If not so, majority of the blame should be on government for where we are now as a people. So if you put these two together, if I think that you are to blame, and I also see that you are pushing every burden on me,
yes,
it's only normal that I'm going to resist.
And that is what Professor Lord Mensah, watching him this morning on one of the networks, indicated that it looks like the pensioners or the bondholders feel that the burden is being pushed on them. Now, mind you, the finance minister, when he was presenting the 2023 budget, indicated that it's going to be a burden sharing issue. So if now the bondholders feel that, okay, fine, everything is being pushed down on us, they would reject. Also, he made mention of the entire process has to be revised because it looks like a lot of engagement weren't done. I can also situate this one or try and put it together with e-levy. When the e-levy came, the 1.75%, a lot of stakeholders also raised questions about it, came down to 1.5%, then it's now at 1%. It looks like every time government will bring the thing, I don't know whether it's a way to just come and test the waters, see reactions from the general public, go back and do the various redress. Professor Lord Kombe also made mention of the fact that if that is not done, it's going to have a lot of issues with government instrument, and investors are also going to lose confidence or interest in government instruments. So I think that is something that has to be done immediately, in the sense that if this engagement has to be done, it has to be immediate, because you indicated that it's sort of like a necessary devil for the IMF deal to go through.
Yes, a necessary devil. And for me, talking about the burden sharing, and sometimes I think that the burden sharing does not necessarily even come to just this debt exchange. So there are certain parameters that government can begin to do, and people will begin to see. And that's why I started my point with perception. What have people been talking about this government? They've been talking about the size of government. They've been talking about certain projects that they do not see necessary. I mean, the finance minister has noted that you are going to limit travels,
coupons and all that.
Coupons. But see, these are things that I would not see, because how often do you see a minister? And even if the minister is in a four-wheel drive, how do you know it's not his personal car or it's government car? If the minister tells you that he's heading towards Kumasi and only ends up at Amasaman, maybe you met him at Circle, how are you able to tell? So these are things that we cannot tell. And these are things, if you do, already we are not seeing the impact it is having on the fiscals. So we are not seeing the impact on the fiscals. It is not also creating the aesthetics it's supposed to create, that government really is sharing the burden.
Wow.
What then we should do? And I think that is right. If you cut down the size of government,
yes.
Ministers to 30, everybody says, oh, we are in trying times. So the president who says he wants a big government, he has cut down the size. No, but you see, reshuffle does not necessarily mean that you're going to cut down the size of government.
There may be a cut down.
So if you say some ministries shouldn't have deputies, some ministries, if there are 2 or 3, there should just be 1 deputy. Then we see that. We say, oh, National Cathedral, we are halting it until everything gets. But just 2 days ago, the president says, come what may, he will complete it. So you should expect this protest.
It looks like a lot of issues are coming up as a result of this debt exchange program. Also, Senior Hosi has said that the debt exchange program is very oppressive. We've had other people also stating issues like that. Martin, people they've also come out with that. But it looks like the engagement has to go down well with the various stakeholders. Let's move on to another story. And the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed that inflation for the month of December rose to 54.1%. Let's bring you that video.
Now, the Ghana Statistical Service says inflation for the month of December rose to 54.1%. This means that in the month of December 2022, the general price level was 54.1% higher than same period in 2021. Food inflation was 59.7%, soaring against the 55.3% recorded in November 2022. Inflation for locally produced items was at 51.1%, while that of imported items stood at 61.9%. My colleague Nashika Caesar has been following this story and now reports.
Ghana's annual inflation rate accelerated for the 19th straight month to 54.1% in December of 2022, peaking from 50.3% in the previous month. This is the highest inflation rate recorded in 20 years, with inflation surpassing the 10% ceiling of the central bank's target range since September 2021. The spike in inflation is due to the slight depreciation of the cedi from mid-December, which contributed to a further increase in the cost of imported goods, which was 61.9% versus 55.1% in November. The pressure came from increase in prices of transportation, which was 71.4% versus 63.1%, of which fuels utilities was 82.3% versus 79.1%, and food products was 59.7% versus 47.9%. The government statistician Professor Samuel Kobena-Enim was speaking at a press conference on Wednesday.
The month of November 2022, it was just a single item out of the 307 items that did not see an increase on a year-on-year basis. This has reversed. In December 2022, we identified only 147 items that recorded changes in prices higher than the inflation rate of 54.1%. This was predominantly non-food imported items, but it's always important to keep in mind the weight of food, which is 43.7%. We further look at the top 20 items that recorded highest price changes for the month of December 2022. We still identify diesel recording the highest year-on-year price change that is between December 2021 and December 2022. What this means is that the recent price changes that we've seen since the month of November 2022 is yet to reflect, because on a year-on-year basis we compare December 2021 with December 2022. However, on a month-on-month basis, the ranking of diesel is around the 15, as the effect of price changes that we've seen, that is the decreasing price changes that we've seen since November 2021, has been recorded in our database, giving diesel's rate of change between November 2022 and December 2022 being 3.8%.
The government statistician also gave a breakdown of the inflationary situation across the regions.
Disaggregating this from a regional perspective, Greater Accra region recorded the highest rate of inflation of 66.7%, Volta region recording the least inflation of 35.6%. So between the regions with the highest and the lowest inflation, there's about a 2 times high difference between these two regions. Disaggregating this from a food and non-food inflation perspective, we did record a 9.8 percentage points between food inflation and non-food inflation, with food inflation December 2022 59.7, non-food inflation for December 2022 49.9%. From a locally produced items perspective and imported items perspective, we recorded a percentage point variation of 10.8 percentage points, with imported items recording an inflation figure of 61.9% relative to locally produced items 51.1%. On a month-on-month basis, for the first time, we are seeing a reversal in the upward increase in month-on-month inflation rate, as it did increase consistently from 2.0 for the month of September 2022 to 2.7 for the month of October 2022, 8.6 for the month of November 2022, and for December 2022, recording a month-on-month inflation of 3.8%. And this is accounting for the reversal in the upward trend that we've been seeing for the last 4 months. Disaggregating this from a food and non-food perspective, food inflation on a month-on-month basis 4.1%, non-food inflation 3.6%, indicating a 0.5 percentage point difference on a month-on-month basis between food.
54.1% inflation in Ghana as of now, as compared to what happened same period last year, that is December 2021 and December 2022. Food inflation 59.7%. As of November 2022, it was 55.3%. Isn't that on a very higher side?
Well, this is very high, and we continue breaking record. I mean, if this was football,
we set record and we break them.
We set record and we break. And I remember when we got to 40.4%, we had to do stories of how there was that historical high, and boom, we went to 50.3% in November, and then 54.1%
in December.
If you follow Ghana's politics very well, there was a time when politicians sit to argue and they compare their macroeconomic indicators' performances. And they say, oh, we've done well with inflation. The NDC will say, oh, during that era of former President Mills, we had single-digit inflation. The NPP will say, oh, we've been able to tame the rate of inflation. And then if somebody is listening, the person will tell you, oh, now inflation here be the other. But I mean, from 2022 till date, we've actually seen how inflation can impact our livelihood as a people. And I'm looking at the headline inflation as captured in the 2023 budget, for instance. Somewhere in August 2021, we're about 10.4, stable all the way. October 2021 about 10.6. December went up high about that's 2021 about 11%. Then April hitting 15, 17. By October we went to 40.4%. I mean,
then November we jumped to the 50s. Then December we are 54.
We are 54.1, and the government is hoping to bring inflation to good levels. And inflation basically, as we all know, deals with the rate of increment in prices of goods and services. And the major influencers in this inflation has been food prices, fuel.
Yeah, fuel prices.
Yes. And for food, it's a difficult one because
59.7.
It's a difficult one because we've been doing planting for food and jobs, and we've had the Minister of Agric, the former, who now want to focus on his next political ambition. I mean, in an interview on our own network, indicated that he himself doesn't understand because there's food in the farms. And perhaps
that's
in
how
the transportation.
That's how come they did the food fair.
The planting for food and jobs market.
Exactly,
market,
at the ministry.
At the ministry. On a monetary level also, we've seen the Bank of Ghana from time to time increase its monetary policies. Somewhere in 2022, when the IMF released its economic outlook on sub-Saharan Africa, Ghana was ranked as one of the countries with the highest increment in monetary policies in order to tame inflation. However, that seemed not to have worked. In that same policy, the IMF indicated that the increment in policy, the monetary rate, has not helped in taming inflation, and was wondering as to whether it was because of the timing. We've had people like Tugbe Afede come in to complain about how the Bank of Ghana in itself targets its inflation and calculates its inflation and work to solve.
It looks like the
problem.
people at the helm of affairs in terms of the economy.
I don't want to say we seem not to
know what we are doing.
To know what we are doing, or not to be in grips of it and hoping that,
so that means
by
you need
chance
to go back to the drawing
everything will work. But I mean, everything that we are talking about, the fact about high cost of living, essentially will boil down to inflation. Even this debt exchange that we are talking about, if you are getting a 5% increment or interest on your investment in 2024, and by 2024, the government is not able to bring the inflation to sustainable levels, and even if you are doing 40% of inflation, and you are just getting interest of 5%, you are taking interest of 5% to go and buy things that have been increased to over 40%. Essentially, cost of living will be high, standards of living will be poor, and we need to get this. The economists, I wouldn't claim to be an economist or an expert in that space.
Basically, everything is on the high side. Prices are increasing. You're just waiting for the government statistician to come out and say that inflation has gone down or has reduced, but 54.1% is on the very high side. Let's go to education. And the Ghana National Buffer Food Stock Company is saying that there's no cause for alarm and that they are going to supply senior high schools and the various institutions with food very soon. Let's bring you that insert.
Now, the National Food Buffer Stock Company says there's no cause for alarm as plans are far advanced to supply food items to all public senior high schools across Ghana. The Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, that is Charles, on the first day of resumption of school complained that most schools were yet to receive food items from government for onward disbursement to students. Now, the situation Charles lamented may hamper the smooth delivery of the academic work as the new term begins. City News' correspondent Kweku Agyemang has been speaking to the Chief Executive of the National Buffer Stock Company. Kweku, you can tell us more on what you've been gathering now.
On the very first day of the resumption of schools across the country, the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, that is Charles, was worried that academic work could be hampered following the delay in the disbursement of food items to the various institutions for onward use. Now, this, Charles, as of Tuesday, indicated to City News that few schools had received some items from the National Food Buffer Stock Company, who is in charge for the disbursement of the various food items. Well, in reaction to this particular situation, the National Food Buffer Stock Company has indicated to City News that there had been some challenges, which includes logistical constraints and also some other challenges. And its Chief Executive Officer has been explaining to City News what may have accounted for the delay.
We have made some special arrangement. As at yesterday, there was a breakdown of trucks carrying some food items from Accra and Kumasi to Upper West. Looking at how far the area is, we'll have to do some emergency intervention by sending down cash for local purchase of food that will sustain them within 2 to 3 days, whilst transporters get the luxury of, time to move food items into the region. And same as we are just about putting up same strategy for OT region, where we are facing similar problem now. As we speak now, they haven't received some, food items from our suppliers. So when you just walked in, my head of operation talking to the regional Charles chairman to get the essential food items so that we can send them money by close of day so that they can quickly do some purchases.
Also touching on issues having to do with finances, the National Food Buffer Stock Company indicated to City News that it is currently receiving financial clearance from the Finance Ministry of Ghana to be able to go about its duties as expected of them.
We are introducing what we grow here locally. It's only 1 or 2 items that are not, grown here. So yes, financially, we are supplying. Of course, government is committed in making sure that they pay, because government has placed a lot of, how do you call it, interest. Interest in what we are doing, because it's a flagship program and feeding is very important. Any other thing can delay for a bit when it comes to, teaching and learning, but no student can go to the classroom with an empty stomach. So government is really giving us the best of support. As we speak now, Ministry of Finance is working on making some releases so that we can cushion the suppliers to continue with the supplies.
So with all the hitches cited by the various stakeholders in the education sector, the National Food Buffer Stock Company is optimistic that it will be able to deliver on its mandate. That is by providing the various food items to the respective schools across the country. Reporting for City News, my name is Kweku.
So now that the National Food Buffer Stock Company has indicated that they have plans to give out food items to the various institutions, I think it should be done, because that is also going to help in teaching and learning. And Charles has also come out to say that if that is not done, it's going to hamper operations in the various institutions. So definitely it should be done. They should go by their words.
I think this is good news, but for me, 2 takeaways from what Hanan said to Kweku, that one, he indicated that their supplies have delayed. And in the interim, he said when Kweku entered his office, one of his officers was engaging the Charles President of Greater Accra so that Buffer Stock will make available monies for purchase of food stuff for the schools. That's the essential food stuff for the schools. You remember Charles have been saying that let's look at the role of Buffer Stock clearly, and perhaps give monies to these schools to make these purchases on their own. Just from these admissions that have been made by Hanan, I think that beyond essential, we look at what role we will make Buffer Stock play. If you will limit them to a certain part of the country where their presence is more felt, and then give direct funds to schools that are far away from where Buffer Stock's presence is felt more, so that they can directly also source from other places.
Exactly. As of last year, when the issue of lack of food items in the various institutions happened, the Speaker of Parliament formed and had a committee to investigate what is really happening at the National Food Buffer Stock Company. I think we would have to follow up on that and see what has come out of that report and what exactly is happening in that institution. You are watching CNR Extra on CCTV. Still to come. Private basic schools blame increase in school fees to rising cost of goods and services. Kindly stay with us. We'll be back with more stories.
Come to the Effective Living Series 2023.
Another year is upon us, and we are poised to kickstart this new revolution with the utmost zeal. City TV and City FM present to you another rewarding season of the Effective Living Series. This year, the Effective Living Series will be riding on the back of the theme 2023 Starter Pack, Building Back Better. Every week in the month of January, our team of renowned experts, alongside our exceptional host Bernard Avlem, will delve into various thematic areas that have been carefully selected to cater to your holistic well-being in the coming year. Week 1 will focus on the importance of physical preparation for 2023. After that, we will take a look at emotional and mental health imperatives for 2023 in our second weekly series. Then, we will proceed to the third weekly series with emphasis on professional priorities for 2023. In our fourth and final week, we will dig into the strategic conversation on building financial foundations for 2023. The Effective Living Series will be live on the City Breakfast Show on 97.3 City FM at 9 a.m. and on Breakfast Daily on City TV at 9:30 a.m. from Monday through till Thursday. So join us and let's get ready to be equipped with practical information for building back better in 2023. The Effective Living Series is sponsored by Enterprise Insurance and Hallmark Freights and Logistics Ghana Limited.
Many thanks for staying with us here on CNR Extra on City TV. You can join us with your thoughts, contributions, and suggestions on the stories we've brought to you so far on our WhatsApp line on 0204 447033. Let's move straight to another story. And it's exciting that at least the government has reduced the e-levy charge from 1.5% to 1%. Let's bring you that insight on the revised e-levy charge.
Now, the reduction of the electronic transfer levy, e-levy, from 1.5% to 1% commenced on Wednesday, January 11, 2023. The government presenting the 2023 budget and economic policy statement reviewed the 1.5% electronic transaction levy downwards to 1% effective January 2023. The reduction has also been approved by Parliament. There's more in this report.
Several calls have been made by various stakeholders within the mobile money sector for government to revise the levy after it was introduced. The levy had failed to meet all its revenue targets since its introduction, with players in the telecommunication space raising concerns over the practicality of running an effective mobile money service with a levy in place. After the implementation of the levy, telecommunication companies registered over 300,000 loss of mobile money subscribers in April 2022. Government in 2023 budget noted that the levy will be revised and it will be implemented this year. General Secretary for the Mobile Money Agents Association of Ghana, Evans Otunfo, says the new percentage will impact the mobile money business positively.
It is basically something that we have been expecting for long, right from the inception of the e-levy policy. We have been calling for a further, review, that is a reduction of it. And so if this time is the opportune time for the implementation of a reviewed policy, then it comes as a good news to us, especially having to wrestle with a burden from the 1.5% since the levy went live. It is a good news to the business, the consumer, even though we have been advocating and expecting that the levy could further be reduced down. I think it is a step in the right direction, as we are expecting that people, that is the consumer, will actually see that the burden of e-levy has actually been taken down.
A member of the e-levy technical committee of the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, Opoku Efriye Asante, has assured that his outfit is poised to address concerns of mobile money customers who might be overcharged following the introduction of the 1% levy on electronic transfer.
I'd like to assure the general public the Commissioner General is doing all that he can, and if there are any system glitches, the GRA will be there to reimburse. So we have a procedure for refund. If you are wrongfully deducted, there are procedures in place for you to receive the refunds. So for example, last year when we went live, we realized that some entities were having system glitches. And for that reason, we made sure, or we insisted that all those who were affected had their funds or had their monies refunded to them. So even if in the event that there should be some challenges in the beginning, the GRA would ensure that everyone who was affected is reimbursed for that amount that they were wrongfully deducted. So what I'd like to say is that because the e-levy rate has been reduced, we hope that a lot more people will buy into electronic transfers so that we can recruit more revenue for the state for the purposes of development.
Here are some customers of mobile money sharing their views on the revised e-levy charge.
As a consumer of the platform, I would say our leaders have done well a bit by reducing it to that 1%. Though it's not all the best, but it's better than when it was 1.5%. So as a user of it, I think they are doing something in one way or the other for us to continue using the mobile money platform. Moreover, it's like bribing Peter to pay Paul. It seems like the VAT too has increased. So it's really the same people who are using this money here and there. So if you reduce it in mobile money and you're still increasing the VAT, I think it's still the same, but they've done well a bit by reducing it to 1%. Personally, the reduction is going to help me to use the platform because we are in a transition where digital money is the new order. So personally, whether I like it or not, I'm going to use it. But the 1% will also in one way help me to use it as compared to first. But my problem is the VAT increment.
The 1% is like the same as the old one because I don't see any difference. Because if at least I just came for my money, I see it's like the same thing. So as for me, I want the government to use us like the same old one. Not 1%, 0, yeah, 0%, yeah.
The 1%, no, I cannot change government's mind, you understand? I cannot do anything to it. If I'm not in support of it, I cannot do anything, and government will not do anything about it. So, unless me, I will say that I'm not in support of it, I don't like it.
Though government has reduced the 1.5% on e-levy to 1%, stakeholders in the industry are still asking that there should be a further reduction. Reporting for City News, my name is Philip Lartey. Of course, like Oliver Twist, we are still asking for more. It's been reduced from 1.5 to 1%, from what was proposed was 1.75. But in any way, we still have to pay tax.
Yes, I mean, for taxing, at least, it is essential for growth and development. And often than not, you will get a lot of people who do not agree with taxing. And but it's an essential thing that the government will have to do, and it's the duty of the government to ensure that the people are brought on board to pay the taxes. I mean, it's been reduced from 1%. It started from 1.75%
to 1.5.
By the time it was passed, 1.5% is now 1%. You know, when it comes to taxes and when it comes to revenue collection, a lot of things come into play.
Well,
it can be either the volumes or the amount. So now that the amount has been reduced, maybe government may take steps to ensure that the volume of people or the number of people who will pay it will be more, so that government can generate enough revenue.
Well, from what we know, as the various stakeholders are also pushing for a further reduction to 0.5, so they are still in talks with government. Let's move to education, and the headmasters of various basic schools have attributed the hike in prices of educational materials to the high cost of port charges, and that is what they are saying that has increased fees in the various schools. Let's bring you that insight.
Our head teachers at various basic schools have attributed the hike in prices of educational materials to the high cost of port charges. Many schools across Ghana resumed for the new academic year on Tuesday, January 10, 2023. But parents are unhappy with the increase in school fees and other charges. There's more in the following report by City News' Agyemang and read by my colleague in the City Newsroom.
It's day 2 of the reopening of schools across the country. However, some private schools are calling on stakeholders to reduce the high cost of stationery so that parents can purchase them. In an interview with City News, the head teacher of Harrow Preparatory School and Junior High School, John Agyemang, stated that suppliers of the stationery are blaming the increase on hikes in port charges. John Agyemang indicated that the first 2 days of reopening have seen low attendance by pupils, but hopefully it will improve in subsequent days.
We were all ready, everything that we need to put in place to welcome our children back to school. Most of our children couldn't report to school. We had just a little over 30% of our children reporting to school. We don't know why. Possibly some of them are still, enjoying the Christmas break. But we are hopeful that during the coming days, most of them will be able to report to school. I would say the challenge is not coming from our side, but with regards to our clients, that is the parents, in terms of the cost of stationery and then school fees and other activities that we are engaged in over here. But the one they are mostly complaining about is the cost of stationery and books. And it's because the suppliers with books and those stationery, they've increased their prices, and it's very high, I must say, I must admit. And they are pushing the reason to be, or the blame, to be the cost of printing, the cost of shipping, and then also clearing the goods from the ports, because most of them apparently print from China. So because of that, they said they also don't have any option but to transfer the price back to us.
Some parents in an interaction with City News also lamented the increase in school fees.
Our children are in school, but we are buying books. The price has changed. It has increased in price. The price has increased, and also the feeding fee too has increased from 7 cedis to 10 cedis. But we as mothers, for me, I'm still managing.
School are being, but the payment of the school fees is too high. We see if we can consult the government to reduce the price of the school fees. We think it will be very good, because systems are very bad. We are suffering.
Meanwhile, pupils who spoke to City News expressed their excitement on returning to the classroom.
School was really fun. We did a lot of extracurricular activities. We had fun. Lessons also went on well.
The teachers have started teaching. As for here in Harrow, even on the first day we come, the teachers, we learn a lot. I'm very happy to be in school.
Now, managers of some private basic schools in the Ashanti region say they are recording low enrollment for the new academic year due to adjustments in fees and other bills. The authorities are attributing the hike in fees and adjustments in other bills to increase in prices of goods and services. In this report, City News' Ashanti regional correspondent Hafiz Tijani visited a school and interacted with some officials.
Zainab Abdulhamid is returning home after she dropped off her children at school. Two of her children attend the Bam Village School, and she has come to pay for the new academic year fees and also buy some stationery for them. The fees and cost of other services the school renders have gone up, and parents like her are complaining.
With the cost we are adjusting, little things have a bit hard nowadays, so we are adjusting. Last year we paid, I think last year was okay, but this time around, because of the cost of the living, the prices have increased.
My husband always comes for it, but he was saying that the price have come high. Like he said that they have increases now is a 35, like almost 35 million. Am I right? So
the increasing prices of food items, toiletries, fuel, and other essentials used to run schools like this one is forcing authorities to also adjust.
For here, if you look at our adjustment, we have had about 20 to 30% increment with that adjustment. And you know, even from the government side, minimum wage has been increased, other utilities and other operational expenses, rates and properties, all the municipal people are also increasing their tariffs. So we have to break even. So we had to break the gap with the parents and see how best, at least we can judge and make sure none of the parties get disadvantaged.
Private schools like this one went through a lot of difficulty during the COVID-19 pandemic, with most of them laying off their workers. Managers of these schools say a similar challenge is staring at them with the current economic situation.
And the COVID, we are not even out of it. Coupled and slapped with this increment in prices of goods and services. In fact, we have to cry, and we are still crying. So the government has to come in, especially the Food and Drug Board Authority and other responsible authorities to come and have a fair idea of some item prices so that our market women and other business men and women can have a fair fist of prices, and it will be uniform.
For some parents, the adjustment is normal considering the academic performance of their wards.
It's worth it because I've seen so many changes in those cases. Academically excellent.
If things are increasing, they have to increase their prices, and you see that the school too is nice and they are teaching well. You come to their graduation, you see how children are wise. Their way of doing things is very different from other schools.
When you are paying for something and you see the effect as positive, with the positive effect, it helps you, it encourages you.
Director of the Bam Village School, Paul Oseitutu, wants the government to put in place measures to save businesses like his. The Ghana National Council of Private Schools says parents should bear with its members.
We all take into consideration the kind of challenges, times that we are all going through, and we will understand and appreciate that if parents will definitely get into the kind of compromising let's say situation, so that we all will negotiate and find a better way to address this challenge.
So on one side, parents are complaining about the fees they are paying. On the other side, school owners are saying that things are expensive. But some of the parents who also spoke are also saying that, okay, they are getting value for money, so they are okay with that.
Well, always preference will come in. But for me, I think that when it comes to the cost, we will all allude to the fact that if you look at the current economic challenges that we are facing as a people, it basically affecting every part of the Ghanaian life, and we only hope that parents, as they always do, will be able to sail through and see to the education of their wards. But ultimately, a call will be to government to make sure that, yes, we invest in the education space so that either private or public, the Ghanaian child can have access to education, either at a free or a relatively cheaper price.
Exactly. So all we are asking is that at least parents some subsidies should be put in place so that parents will be relieved of the high prices they are paying. You're still watching CNR Extra on City TV, still to come. I have Regional Security Council reviews curfew on Boma community following chieftaincy disputes. Stay with us, we'll be back with more.
It's City on the Go. You don't have to miss any of your favorite television and radio shows on City TV and City FM. Enjoy thrilling content from your world of great television and relevant radio at your convenience. Subscribe to CityTube on YouTube. Turn on your notification button and receive prompts on our live streaming sessions and new content uploads. For easy access to the CityTube page, scan the barcode on your screens. Subscribe to the CityTube page and voila! Unlimited content awaits you. Don't forget to subscribe to CityTube for amazing content from City TV and City FM.
You're welcome back from that break, and let's bring you another story. And the Ahafo Regional Security Council has reviewed curfew as imposed on Boma community. Let's bring you that insert.
Now, and the Ahafo Regional Security Council has reviewed curfew hours imposed on the Boma community. Now, the community was initially under a 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew following a chieftaincy dispute that led to the death of at least one person. But following an emergency regional security council meeting, the curfew hours were reviewed to 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. every day. In addition, all public gatherings have been banned with immediate effect, with the exception of religious activities. Muslims will be allowed to go to the mosque on Fridays, Adventists to the church on Saturday, and other church activities by Christians on Sundays. All parties are being entreated to adhere to the new curfew hours. The Ahafo Regional Security Council has assured that they will continue to collaborate with all stakeholders to ensure lasting peace in this regard.
And of course, we all wish that lasting peace will be in that community, because if you are in a community with curfew imposed on the community members, it's obvious like your freedom is being curtailed.
Yes, and I think that what we need to be looking at is addressing chieftaincy disputes, yes. And there seem to be a number of them in the country, from the north to the south, almost
east and west,
every part of the country begin to have chieftaincy dispute, and sometimes some of these disputes are not addressed amicably, and even in Boma, at least one person has lost his life. Now you can't. If Boko is another issue on its own, yes, and you now have to security that could have been used for other things, money that could have been used for other things will now be channeled into maintaining peace. This is a call to the National House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Chiefs particularly, and the relevant bodies like the local government ministry and then also the chieftaincy ministry to work hand in hand to make sure that in 2023
these things are resolved.
Chieftaincy dispute should be a thing of the past.
So that is our hope here that the Boma community, the curfew there that has been imposed will be lifted, and should that happen as a result of the chieftaincy dispute, that will be resolved. Also, with the topics or the conversation we've had here, we stress that the debt exchange program needs a lot of education and stakeholder engagement must be done. Well, this is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra on City TV. My name is Philip Ni Lartey. I did this with Hanson Agyemang. Many thanks for your time and keep watching City TV.
City TV is live on DSTV. Go to channel 363. On GoTV, access City TV on channel 182. On a digital TV, please press the menu button on the remote control and run a new search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a free-to-air digital box like the GoTV and StarTimes box. City TV, it's your world.
This is DW News, and these are our top stories. Russia's Wagner mercenary group says it has taken complete control of the eastern Ukrainian town of Soledar. President Volodymyr Zelensky rejects the claim and says fighting is still going on. Overrunning Soledar is seen as the key to capturing nearby Bakhmut, which Russia has been besieging for months. Flights have resumed in the U.S. following the breakdown of a crucial computer network at the Federal Aviation Administration. Thousands of flights were canceled or delayed after the system providing pilots with safety and flight information went down. The White House says there's no evidence to back up speculation that a cyber attack caused the outage. Police in Western Germany have begun forcibly evicting climate activists from a village at the center of a battle over coal mining. Protesters are occupying Lützerath to stop the expansion of an open-cast mine that's set to swallow up the town. The government insists the coal is essential to maintaining energy supplies. Activists claim Germany is backsliding on climate pledges. This is DW News from Berlin. You can find much more on our website. That's dw.com.
How can a city once famous for its sparkling wine be turned into the scene of the most gruesome fighting of the war in Ukraine? The bloody battle for Bakhmut has been going on for months and countless lives have been lost. The head of the Wagner Group reportedly calls it the meat grinder. Desperate for something to happen, Russian-financed mercenaries now claim to have taken control over Soledar, a mining town just down the road from Bakhmut. Ukraine denies the claims, and even the Kremlin gives a conflicting version of the situation on the ground. But the strategic importance of Bakhmut is debatable. So how did it become the epicenter of Russia's war of attrition? I'm Nicole Fröhlich in Berlin, and this is The Day.